The Bank of Canada just released its big July report, and inside it, they talk about housing. They even pointed at one Toronto problem by name, not once, but twice. Here's what it means for rates, rents, and home prices, especially if you're in the GTA or Durham region. Let's break it down. First, the big picture. The bank's rate is at 2.25% right now. Here's the part most people miss. The bank thinks the neutral rate, the level that neither speeds up nor slows down the economy, is somewhere between 2.25% and 3.25%. So today's rate is at the very bottom of that range. In plain words, rates are already on the low side. They're helping the economy, not holding it back. Now, what about inflation? In May, it jumped to 3.2%. Sounds scary, right? But here's the thing. Almost all of that jump came from gas prices because of the war in the Middle East. Take gas out of the picture and inflation has been sitting right around 2%. That's exactly where the bank wants it. And the bank expects inflation to cool down to about 2.5% later this year and get back to 2% by early 2027. So there's no inflation panic pushing rates up and no crash pushing them down. That's why the bank is holding steady. The report talks about housing in 4 big ways. Number 1, housing activity dropped at the start of 2026. The bank gives 3 reasons. Homes are hard to afford, population growth has slowed, and people are nervous about the economy. Number 2, and this is the new part, the bank says housing is showing signs of stabilization in the second quarters, and it's not the same everywhere. Some areas are doing better than others. Number 3, housing actually helped the economy bounce back last quarter. It went from dragging things down to giving a small boost. Number 4, here's the Toronto call out. The bank says the housing recovery is being held back by, in their words, a large stock of unsold small condominiums in Toronto and Vancouver. Translation: there are a lot of small condos sitting on the market with no buyers. And the bank mentions this twice. They even list it as a risk that could slow the whole housing recovery. When the Bank of Canada names your city's condo market as a national problem, that's a big deal. Let's talk rent, because there's real data here. Rent and housing costs are now rising slower than they usually do. In fact, shelter costs are one of the softest parts of the whole inflation picture right now. Why? Fewer people moving to Canada means less demand for rentals. But let's be honest about the numbers. Rent is still going up 3.5% a year, so rents are climbing slower. They are not dropping. The bank expects rent and housing costs to keep cooling in the near term. And here's a fun fact, mortgage interest costs are also easing because past rate cuts are finally showing up as people renew their mortgages. Why does this matter? Because soft housing costs are actually helping keep overall inflation near 2%. The slow housing market is one reason rates can stay where they are. Okay, let's make this practical. If you're a buyer, the bank says people are being careful about buying homes right now. But look under the hood. Unemployment is 6.5% and steady. Layoffs are low. Wages are growing about 3%, which is faster than inflation. If your job is secure, this quiet period is when buyers have the most power to negotiate. Once the market fully recovers, that power shrinks. If you're a seller, pricing matters more than ever. The economy is only growing 0.7% this year. It picks up to 1.8% in 2027 and 2028. That's a slow, steady recovery, not a boom. If you're watching condos, the pile of unsold small condos is real, and even the Bank of Canada is talking about it. That means pressure on condo prices and a possible opening for patient buyers. 2 wildcards could change everything. Risk number 1, the Middle East. The Strait of Hormuz, a key route for oil, just closed again. If it stays closed, gas prices go up, inflation goes up, and the whole rates stay calm story gets delayed. Risk number 2, US trade. Canada's trade deal with the US now gets reviewed every year. More tariffs or more uncertainty would mean fewer jobs and less spending, and that cools housing too. The bank says it plainly. Their forecast depends heavily on what happens in the Middle East. So nothing is set in stone. So that's the July report. No hype, just what the data says. Want my full breakdown with the GTA and Durham numbers? Comment the word report and I'll send it to you. Thinking about buying or selling this fall? Let's talk strategy based on data, not headlines. My contact info is below. Subscribe so you don't miss the next report breakdown. See you in the next one.